everyone, welcome to the first Thursday video with my new schedule. I hope you're all having a wonderful week. I'm doing a book haul today because I've had quite a lot of new books that I haven't shared with you properly or at all yet, and that I'm really excited about and hope you'll be interested in too. So let's dive in with a book that just arrived today. I've had this on pre-order for ages. It's the Penguin English Library edition of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I really like the Penguin English Library. When I want a nice paperback copy of a classic, then I'll often look to their books to see if they have it. And as you know, I've been wanting to read more Edith Wharton. The Age of Innocence is definitely one on my list to read, and I was really pleased that they were bringing out an edition of it this year. So I'm so pleased to have got it, and I'm looking forward to reading this as soon as possible. And then an imprint that I wanted to tell you about that I discovered fairly recently and I'm really interested in myself is the Imperial War Museum Wartime Classics. So the Imperial War Museum in London are bringing out some forgotten books, most of which were written either during World War II or just after World War II. But all of these novels are about World War II in some way. And they also all draw on the author's actual experiences during the war too. And I'm really fascinated by this concept. I think this sounds brilliant. I'm really interested in the history of this time period, so I'm looking forward to reading some of these. There are quite a few books already out under this imprint. I picked 4 titles to start with. These are all by women writers, and they just explored topics or themes that I'm particularly interested in. So this one, for instance, is a mystery combined with a setting of World War II, and I'm really keen to read it. And this one, Paid to Be Safe, is by Margaret Morrison and Pamela Hart. It says, when Singapore falls to Japan's Imperial Army in early 1942, the life that Susan Sandyman has lovingly created abroad is shattered. Forced to flee home to the hamlets of southern England, she can either succumb to grief or find solace in war work. When a chance encounter with the elusive air transport auxiliary pilots stirs a spark of excitement, Susan's decision is made. And this was based on the author's own experiences of being in the ATA. So that sounds really interesting to me. I also chose To All the Living by Monica Felton. It says, in January 1941, Griselda Green arrives at Blimpton, a place so far from anywhere as to be, for all practical purposes, nowhere. Monica Felton's 1945 novel gives a lively account of the experiences of a group of men and women working in a munitions factory during the Second World War. Wide-ranging in the themes it touches on, including class, sexism, socialism, and wartime bureaucracy, the novel is vivid in its portrayal of factory life and details the challenges, triumphs, and tragedies of a diverse list of characters. And then the final one I chose is Green Hands by Barbara Whitten. It says, it is 1943, and a month into their service as land girls, Bea, Anne, and Pauline are sent to a remote farm in rural Scotland. Here they are introduced to the realities of lending a hand on the land, as back-breaking work and inhospitable weather mean they struggle to keep their spirits up. Soon one of the girls leaves, and Bea and Pauline embrace a new posting to a Northumberland dairy farm, detailing their friendship, daily struggles, and romantic intrigues with a lightness of touch. Barbara Whitten's charming novel paints a sometimes funny, sometimes bleak picture of time spent in the Women's Land Army during the Second World War. So as you can tell by this selection, I really went for books by women and about women's experiences during the Second World War. So I'm really keen to read these. I think they'll just provide a lot of fascinating background information to this time period. So really excited about those, and I know a lot of you are interested in the similar time period. So definitely do check out the Imperial War Museum's classic books. And then I chose a couple Persephone books, the two new ones. I got their new classic edition of William and Englishman. This is such a good book. I mean, this is set during World War One, and it is the most shocking and just sort of shattering accounts of World War One as seen from the eyes of a very ordinary man. It's just one of the most shocking accounts of the war that I've ever read. It's a book that really stays with you. So I'm looking forward to rereading this one at some point. I think I have read it twice already, but it is very good. And then I also got the third Persephone book of short stories, which I've already been dipping into and I'm enjoying a lot already. So I always like their short story collections. Another book I've been really excited about getting is The Potting Shed Murder by Paula Saturn. I'm such a fan of Paula Saturn's Instagram account. I've been following it for years, Hill House Vintage. I really liked the non-fiction book that she put out a few years ago, but this is her debut novel and it sounds brilliant. I love that sort of cozy mystery vibe. I think this is set in Norfolk and I'm sure it will explore themes that are close to Paula's heart, like gardening, probably a bit of vintage as well. But I love that she's written a murder mystery. So I'm hoping there'll be some cozy kind of vibes to this mystery too. And I'm really looking forward to diving into it. And then those of you who are part of my Seasons of Story community will recognise Chloe Ashby's name because she has contributed a few articles about art. She's an art critic, but she is also a novelist. And her latest novel, Second Self, has just come out in paperback and she very kindly sent me a copy. This novel is really concerned with the questions that many women face when it comes to motherhood, whether or not to have a child, in what ways to have a child or to choose not to, how to cope with aging parents. So it asks a lot of big questions, this novel. It also weaves in a bit about art because of course that is such an area of knowledge that Chloe has. So if you've been enjoying Chloe's writing from the bit that you've seen in Seasons of Story, then definitely consider picking up her latest novel. And then my mum actually ordered this book, but I think it looks really interesting as well. It's called The Year of Sitting Dangerously, My Garden Safari by Simon Barnes. And I really liked the premise to this book. Apparently, during lockdown, when he couldn't actually go on a safari, Simon Barnes decided to sit out, I think at the same time, kind of every day, whatever the weather, in his garden and just observe the natural landscape and the wildlife around him. And his observations are what make up this book. And I can tell it's a really charming read. I think my mum's read about half of it and she's been praising it to me and I've just dipped in and out of it a bit and think it looks really good. So I'm looking forward to reading more of that. I've spoken about this book before, but I wanted to highlight it again because it's definitely one of the favourite books that have been added to my shelves recently. That's Blossomized by Simon Armitage. And it's beautifully illustrated by Angela Harding, this book. She's one of my favourite illustrators. So that's a big reason why I love this. But Simon Armitage is, of course, a poet laureate, and he's written some really lovely verses about the season of blossom, about the transient nature of blossom, about springtime. It's the type of book that's nice to have on your bedside table at this time of year, so you can enjoy just dipping in and out of it. And it was a lovely collaboration with the National Trust to highlight the season of blossom and to get people aware of the springtime, of blossom time, going on blossom watch, that type of thing. So I really admire the initiative, the idea behind this book as well. So definitely a favourite of mine. And then I was thrilled to be sent this book by Batsford. It's 100 Happy Poems. It's the latest poetry anthology by Jane McMorland Hunter. I'm a huge fan of all her many poetry anthologies that she's done for Batsford. And this one is such a fun, sweet little volume. Another great book to have on your bedside table. I love the idea of happy poems, having a collection of poems that really celebrate happiness and joy. That's always going to be something that I will like, and it's just got such a cheerful cover, even very summery looking. Nice book to have on my bedside table as I head into sunny days. But I think this is an anthology that would add a bit of sunshine to the winter days too, so definitely a nice one to have to hand. So I'm thrilled with that. And then if any of you listened to my interview with Eva Rice, the author of The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets, she raved to me about Ex-Wife by Ursula Parrot. You might remember that from the interview, and it made me really want to read it. So I've got that book. This is the lovely McNally editions, which I think this is an American publisher, and they're bringing out some forgotten classics as well. And this one just sounds amazing. It says an instant bestseller when it was published anonymously in 1929. The story of a divorce and its aftermath, which scandalized the jazz age. And apparently the term sort of ex-wife was used much more after this book. This book really sort of coined that term, which I found fascinating to read about. So yes, I want to explore a bit of Ursula Parrot's writing. And then I thought she sounded like she had a fascinating life. So I also bought a biography of Ursula Parrot, Becoming the Ex-Wife, The Unconventional Life and Forgotten Writings of Ursula Parrot by Marcia Gordon. So really looking forward to getting to this too. And then another interview I did recently, which is currently available in my Seasons of Story community, but I will be publishing it publicly on my blog a bit later. I did an interview with Joanna Rakoff, the author of My Salinger Year. And in that interview, she mentioned this book to me, which is A Chance Meeting, American Encounters by Rachel Cohen. And I thought it sounded really interesting. I mean, I love it when I get recommendations from authors I'm interviewing, and I do like to follow those up afterwards, and some I will definitely order. And this was one I thought sounded really good. It says, Rachel Cohen's A Chance Meeting is a dazzling group portrait that offers a striking new vision of the making and remaking of the American mind and imagination from the Civil War to the Vietnam War. How does the happenstance of daily life become history? Cohen shows us describing a series of, now boldly, now subtly, transformative encounters between a wide and surprising range of Americans. A young Henry James has his portrait taken by the photographer Matthew Brady, who will receive Walt Whitman in his studio and depict General Grant on the battlefield. And then it just goes through a lot more of kind of chance encounters in a way between different writers or different creatives and why these mattered. It just sounds very interesting. So this is something I look forward to kind of dipping in and out of as well. And then I'm a huge fan of Alexandra Harris's writing. Her books, The Modern Romantics and Weatherland, I thought they were both amazing. So I was really excited that she has a new book out, The Rising Down, Lives in a Sussex Landscape. I am a bit disappointed by the cover. I have to admit, her two previous books were like so lovely, the covers. And I feel they've let her down a bit with this one, but never mind. I'm sure the book itself will be really good. And it says, when the celebrated critic and cultural historian Alexandra Harris returned to her childhood home of West Sussex, she realised that she barely knew the place at all. As she probed beneath the surface, excavating layers of archival records and everyday objects, bringing a lifetime's reading to bear on the place where she started. Hundreds of unexpected stories and hypnotic voices emerged from the area's past. Who has stood there, she asks. What did they see? So this sounds really interesting, and she's just such a remarkable writer that I can't wait to dive into this one as well. Then another book that my mum ordered, actually, but I also think looks interesting, is this new biography of Barbara Comyns. It's Barbara Comyns, A Savage Innocence by Avril Horner. And I don't know much about the life of Barbara Comyns at all, so I think that this will be intriguing, but I think Mum will be reading this one first. And then another anthology that I received from Batsford is this Shakespeare for Every Night of the Year, which is really beautifully done. And this looks like really fun, kind of bedside table type book as well. So I was thrilled to get this. And then one I've been really enjoying that they also sent me is this Secret Voices, A Year of Women's Diaries, edited by Sarah Gristwood. It's just really fascinating to just sort of flick through. It's by some famous women, some like really quite unknown women diarists as well. And I've just been really enjoying it. It covers a very wide range of years, centuries even too. And it's very, very well put together. I think it's quite an exceptional anthology. So this is one that I got fairly recently, but have been reading quite a bit and really enjoying. And then I'm a huge fan of Paula Byrne as well. You might know her from writing that biography of Barbara Pym quite recently, which was so good, but she's also written a lot of biographies on Jane Austen and books about Jane Austen. And her latest biography is about Thomas Hardy, and it's called Hardy Women, Mothers, Sisters, Wives, Muses. And this sounds like it'll be a really fascinating look at Hardy's life and work through the lens of the women who inspired him and the women that were in his life. So I'm really looking forward to getting to this. It's pretty hefty, but when I have time, I'll be able to pick this up, and I really can't wait to read it. I think it looks so good. Then you might also have listened to my recent interview with Harriet Baker, who wrote Rural Hours, which was a group biography of Virginia Woolf, Sylvia Townsend Warner, and Rosamund Lehman. And it was about how moving to the countryside inspired these women creatively. And in that interview, Harriet and I discussed Virginia Woolf's Ascham Diaries, which haven't been so widely published. When they have been published, they've been very much edited. And she told me about this new series by Granta that have been published of Virginia Woolf's diaries. And this is the kind of complete set of her diaries. I think there are 5 volumes. I do have all of the volumes. I'm just showing you volume 1. And in this one, this is the one that has the Ascham diary. As Harriet said in the interview, it's mainly in the appendix still, which is kind of a shame. But I've been able to read it, which is very interesting. And I'm just happy to have a complete set of Virginia Woolf's diaries. So that is exciting for me. And then another book that my mum ordered is Sister Novelists, the trailblazing Porter sisters who paved the way for Austen and the Brontes by Devaney Luser. I'd never heard actually of these women writers before, and it sounds so interesting. It says, before the Bronte sisters picked up their pens, or Jane Austen's heroines Elizabeth and Jane Bennet became household names, the literary world was celebrating a different set of sisters, Jane and Anna Maria Porter. The Porters, exact contemporaries of Austen, were brilliant, self-made, single women of polite reputation who between them published 26 books and achieved global fame. They socialized among the rich and famous, tried to hide their family's considerable debt, and fell dramatically in and out of love. And it just sounds like such fascinating women. They obviously had quite difficult lives in some ways, but I'm really interested to read this biography and learn why they were forgotten, how they achieved fame at the time. I think this sounds really fascinating. So I was glad that my mum ordered this as well. And then a coffee table book that I'm absolutely loving is this Outside In, A Year of Growing and Displaying by Sean A. Pritchard. I follow him on Instagram. I love his beautiful photos of tulips and interiors, and this book is essentially full of that as well. Lovely flowers, lovely shots of his home. Yes, it's just very, very charming. So really inspiring. And I love the photography. It's just stunning. So this is another favourite. And then a couple more Shakespeare related books. I got this new edition of Twelfth Night with engravings by Eric Revilius. And they're just stunning. In 2023 marked 400 years from Shakespeare's first folio, and a lot of books have been coming out in celebration of that. This is one of them, and this is a really beautiful book. I think it's just been exquisitely done. It's a lovely cloth-bound cover with the gold lettering, really beautiful. And I love Eric Revilius. I love his work. So having a Shakespeare play illustrated by him is, I think, very special. And then I also got this edition of Shakespeare's first folio, All the Plays, a children's edition, and it's got gorgeous illustrations by Emily Sutton. So these plays have been edited so that they are a bit more suitable for children to read and to enjoy, but it's been really exquisitely illustrated by Emily Saturn as well. And I think it's a very special book. So I was really pleased to add this one to my shelves as well. So anyway, those are all of the books that I wanted to share with you. Do let me know what books you've been getting and really enjoying lately. As always, I've linked to all of the ones I've mentioned in the video description box down below. And thanks so much for joining me on a Thursday today. I'm not actually going to be uploading a video next week. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm actually going to be going away unexpectedly, though I'm really looking forward to this. It's exciting, but you will find out where I'm going in the next video. So I won't be actually posting next week, but I will the following. And I look forward to sort of sharing more then. But I also just need a tiny bit of a holiday because I've been working every single day for months and months, and I have a lot coming up. So I'm just taking next week off from uploading a video, but I'll be back again after that. So thanks so much for watching today. Extra big thanks as always to those of you who pressed the super thanks button on my last video. I so appreciate your support. But thank you to everyone who takes the time to watch my videos, subscribe to my channel, like the videos and comment on them. I really appreciate that as well. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Goodbye.